Hello and welcome to the Sport Geeks episode 10. I'm Andy, this is Dylan, and we hope to have a good episode for you this week. We'd like you to view it on YouTube or Facebook if I decide to upload on Facebook this time, like I did last time. And please comment future suggestions. Dylan, what's our topic for this week?
Our topic for today, with the NHL playoffs ongoing and we're now into the Stanley Cup, which player is deserving of the Conn Smythe Award? And I want to thank CJ Gates for the suggestion of this topic and reiterate what Andy just said. Please comment with your thoughts on this video as well as suggestions for future topics, because we prefer to do topics from you guys rather than coming up with them ourselves.
It almost got pretty dangerous this week with topics, so please give us suggestions so we don't have to shoot ourselves in the foot. Now, the Conn Smythe, I'm going to go with Victor Hedman, and it's a very difficult decision because Victor Hedman not necessarily was the MVP before the playoffs, but before the Cup Finals, but if you look at him right now, he is shutting down Kane or Taves, whomever is on the ice gets shut down. There is nothing Chicago can do about it. Chicago is trying to keep him away from their stars because their stars cannot do a thing. And that's the reason Tampa's doing so well. They are keeping the star players of Chicago from being able to do anything productive. Taves has 1 goal in 4 games. Kane has 1 assist in 4 games. That's terrible. That's terrible out of star players. And the reason is because the second overall pick from a couple of years ago, Hedman, is now an MVP caliber defenseman.
Well, you say that Victor Hedman's been shutting everybody down and preventing all players from being productive, but I'd like to make a counterpoint with my choice for the Conn Smythe winner in Duncan Keith. You could essentially say he's been doing similar things for Chicago, except at a higher level. He has 20 points in 21 games. He's almost a point per game as a defenseman in the playoffs. He's a plus 15, which is incredible. And he plays over 31 minutes per game. So he's playing over half of every single game of the past 21 games in these playoffs. And that's 6 minutes more than anybody else in the Stanley Cup currently averages. So he's out there significantly more than anybody, and it hasn't slowed him down one bit yet, at least.
I give Duncan Keith the credit, he's playing a lot of minutes, but I feel like the reason he's playing a lot of minutes, he is a great defenseman, don't get me wrong, but they are decimated with injuries. And not necessarily all those minutes are good minutes, because you see towards the end of the game, he's tired. He's played 31 minutes. You see Victor Hedman at the end of the game, in Game 3, makes a beautiful pass to Paquette in the net. You see last night, he was making passes all over the place at the end of the game. You see his stretch passes? His stretch passes are arguably the best in the league, and he's doing them right now. In the Cup Finals, he is coming out. And I know I exaggerated shutting down everybody. He's not. He's shutting down the best players arguably in the league. Many people say Taves is the best player in the league. And he is being held to a minimal heartbeat. He barely has a pulse in these playoffs offensively in the Cup Finals. So, Keith can play 30 minutes a night, but Hedman is doing a heck of a lot in his 23, 24 minutes, which is still number 1 defenseman on his team. And I think his advanced stats say he is better for his team when he's on the ice than Keith is when he is.
I think it speaks something to Duncan Keith when you say how Victor Hedman's been able to shut down Taves. He's been able to shut down Kane. These guys haven't done much. But Duncan Keith has came in, and I'm going to use one of your favorite quotes. He's put the team on his back, if you will. He's doing it all. In the wake of their best players being not as productive as expected, he's come in, he's done well. The series is still tied. And you can say that Duncan Keith's been an enormous part of that. Had it not been for Keith, then if they only had the struggles of those other guys, the series could look a lot different right now. And if you are into the analytics, Duncan Keith has been one of the best players in terms of Corsi and Fenwick and all those for quite a while now. And you can make the case that Chicago's a good team in terms of those stats without him, but he makes that team much better. And if Taves and Kane can have the games that we expect from them coming up, which it's hard to believe that they'll get shut down for an entire series, then Chicago will be a very dangerous team, and that could be really tough for Tampa and Victor Hedman to handle.
I just want to quickly say we both have defensemen, and the Conn Smythe, I looked before the video, and there's been only 8 Conn Smythe winners that are defensemen, and we are pretty sure, like I know we're taking guys, like maybe guys that we like, show a little bias by picking these guys, but we're pretty sure that besides these two and maybe 1 or 2 other guys, these guys will probably win the Conn Smythe. And the fact of the matter is, only guys like, I have a list here, Scott Niedermayer, Nick Lidstrom, Scott Stevens, Brian Leach, Al McGinnis, Larry Robinson, Bobby Orr, and Serge Savard have won this award. All Hall of Famers. All arguably the best defensemen of their eras. Of that couple years, those guys were the best. They were feared. And these guys are as well. I have to say, it's hard to argue against Keith, but Hedman he's doing it all out there in the time that he is on the ice, and he's making a very big difference. And I think you have to also consider Tampa runs 7 defensemen. And how many more minutes would Keith play if there wasn't 7 defensemen? If they played 6, I'm sure he plays more than 24 minutes. And I think that's also a factor in why his point totals aren't quite as high as Keith's, or his opportunities quite aren't as much.
The case for having more defensemen works both ways. As you can say, well, Tampa's been playing more, that would slow down his production, but that also forces Keith to shoulder more of the workload, and he's done it very impressively. He's having a postseason to remember, and I haven't looked at the stats historically, but it's got to be one of the better postseasons from a defenseman of all time when you look down into how well he's actually been doing. And I think he's been the most valuable player for Chicago. I think he's been the most valuable player in the series. Personally, I think Chicago will win, but even if they don't, I think Duncan Keith will garner consideration for the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. And he has an impressive resume. He's won 2 cups. He's won 2 gold medals, 2 Norris trophies. And if they win a 3rd Stanley Cup, I think it's very hard to make a case against Duncan Keith for the Conn Smythe this year.
And thank you for watching the Sport Geeks episode 10. Is it Duncan Keith, or is it Victor Hedman, or is it somebody else that you believe should win? Or if you're watching this post Stanley Cup, give your opinion on who actually won it. And we appreciate your view, and please like the video if you liked it. Subscribe so you know when we have our future episodes. And yeah, so suggest future topics as well. Bye.
See y'all next week.